All right, all right. What is up, Laker fans for life? What is up, Justin? We're gonna get started relatively soon. Just give me 1 second, make sure everything is up and right with the channel. Like I said, hopefully you guys are doing great today. We finally got some breaking news to talk about, so I'm excited to talk about that in just a second. Whoops, camera's not on yet. So again, Laker Nation, Justin, how you doing, guys? Get some more people in here, and then Tyrese is actually going to join me. I'm going to let him know. Actually, he should know that we're live right now, but I'll text him to make sure that he knows. All right, let's get after it. All right, let's get started. Shout out to Pete for making this beat again. It's pretty dope. Let us pause the music and kind of get started, guys. So we got a couple people in here already. Just kind of wanted to say what's up to everybody. Sean, Lakers fan for life. Justin, how you guys doing? Today, like I said, we're going to talk about this Donovan Mitchell news. Officially a Cavalier. I was obviously wrong on where I thought he was going to go. Obviously, opinions change, and obviously I think the Cavaliers, they had the better trade offer for the Jazz of what they were looking for in their stuff. But nevertheless, hopefully you guys, like I said, are having a great day. Again, lots of stuff to talk about. We're going to really go into details about this trade, who won the trade, are the Cavaliers finals contenders? What is the Jazz's angle from this? And what else do the Jazz need to do in order to get their next player that they want? We also got a little bit of a funny thing from Field Yates talking about some trade stuff. So let me go over to the next scene here so we can be live here on the charge. I talked about this, the updated draft order for the next 5 years. Jazz Thunder, Thunder Jazz, Thunder Jazz, Kings Jazz, Thunder Jazz. And that's a crazy thing to see. Again, this to me is what happens when NBA 2K players officially enter in the realm of trying to make trades, trying to do things that get them to where they need to be. But again, this is just a little bit of a funny thing. But nevertheless, let's get started here on the news. And let me just, like I said, double check, make sure. All right, let's see here. Okay, we are good to go. So with that being said, let us talk about the situation and read the story really quick before we get started. Please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Again, all that stuff leads to great things. Looking forward to kind of hearing from you guys all about this stuff. So again, remember, like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. All that stuff helps the channel grow. Excuse me, and get things going here. So without further ado, enough shilling around. Let's get started. So obviously today, the story is that the Cavs acquired Donovan Mitchell from the Jazz. The Cavaliers have agreed to acquire Donovan Mitchell from the Utah Jazz. This trade will require 3 unprotected first-round picks from the Utah Jazz going over to the from the Cavaliers going to the Jazz. The Jazz will also acquire Colin Sexton in a sign and trade, as well as Larry Markkanen and Ochai Agbaji, which I think is a pretty big deal. And we'll kind of get into the trade a little bit more, and then I'll just continue reading. The picks going to Utah will be 25, 27, and 29, as the Cavaliers were already owed top 14 protect pick to the Indiana Pacers in 23. The Knicks came to terms on a 4-year, 107 deal with RJ Barrett, which obviously killed any trade discussion with the New York Knicks. Let me just make sure here. Tyrese, you in the building?
Yeah, I'm in here, man. What's up, Bernie? How you doing, man?
Not much. How you doing?
I'm good.
So obviously I read it. I think you heard me read it. Again, everybody, this Tyrese. Obviously everyone knows Tyrese. Great opinions. But let's start with you, Tyrese. This is going to be putting you on the hot seat here. What do you think of this trade?
I was completely shocked on this trade. I'm not gonna lie. I text you and I was like, "What the hell's going on?" I didn't expect him to go here. I thought he was going to New York. But this makes from a Cleveland's perspective, this sets them up for the next 5 to 10 years solidly. They have a great core now with Mobley, who's still developing, and they have what's his name, Jared Allen, and they have Darius Garland. These guys are all under 25, I think. So they're going to be forced to be reckoned with in the East. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to be. Yeah, so we'll see. But I'm very bullish on the Cavs, and I think they're going to be a top 3 seed because if you don't recall, if you don't remember last year, I think they were the number 1 seed for a little bit until Ricky
Mm-hmm.
Rubio got hurt, and now they have a guy who can facilitate. He can get a shot, so I think they're going to be solid, man. And two, their coach is very good. Um, their bench is, it's solid. Um, yeah, this was a shocker for me, man. As far as Donovan goes, as far as if he fits, I think he'll fit. Well, I don't know. That's the only thing because, Darius Garland, he needs the ball in his hands a lot. So I'm not sure how that's going to work. I don't know if they're going to have Garland come off the bench for scoring, but if those two are starting, I don't know how it's going to really work.
Mm-hmm.
But if Garland comes off the bench and he leads the second unit, then I think they could be a top 3 seed next year.
You think Garland's coming off the bench?
He's gonna have to, man, because if
No,
you think about,
no way.
Yeah,
I'll hear you out.
Yeah. Just listen from this perspective, right? Like Darius Garland, he needs the ball in his hands to get his groove going. So does Donovan Mitchell. So and then Jared Allen. I just don't see how it's gonna work through a 48-minute game, and you know what I'm saying? Like they're gonna have to put him on the bench. That's the only how it's gonna work. If they don't put him on the bench, then they're gonna be a 5th seed or 6th seed, in my opinion. But I could be wrong. But I've been right a lot of times, so I don't know. I'll eat crow if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's not gonna work.
Yeah. So here's from my perspective on this trade. I think that this was a pretty good trade. Again, my bet for Donovan Mitchell moving honestly was either to the 76ers or the Charlotte Hornets. From every time that I've talked to Pete, and we talked about this before on the channel, I was thinking that would probably be more kind of where he goes, just because I think, obviously the Knicks were an option, but I just don't think the Knicks structurally are ready to contend for a playoff spot. And I think by getting rid of some of the guys that they needed to get Donovan Mitchell, I don't think it necessarily would have fit the best. But with this trade, what I think it definitely does, the only thing it weakens is kind of the big lineup that JB Bickerstaff was using last year. And again, like we talked about, the Cavs were the surprise team to me of the season last year. Halfway through, like you talked about, for a top 4 seed at the end of it, and then as soon as Garland got hurt, as soon as Sexton got hurt, as soon as most of their guys got hurt, you said Rubio as well, it all went downhill a little bit, and they couldn't really recover from that. But what I am liking with this is that now you have a guy in Darius Garland who's going to be the starting point guard. You're going to have Donovan Mitchell as the 2. You can either have Osman or Okoro as the 3. Evan Mobley obviously being the big factor in this, and then of course you have Jarrett Allen. What I like about this a lot more is that now Darius Garland can play that Steve Nash role that I've compared him to many times on this channel. I've seen a lot of other people compare him to Steve Nash as well, a more athletic Steve Nash that is, because I just think that I think he's as good as Steve Nash, man. Like just in terms of where I think he could get to, like even just like reach the potential. The reason why I see him as more of a Steve Nash is because he has that ability to not force those passes that he needs to. He's a more meticulous guy. He'll kind of dissect, go inside a little bit. I think Darius Garland is going to be a real deal next year, and I thought that before this trade happened. I thought that when I saw the team the way that it was, like you bring back Sexton, you bring back Garland, you have Marketing, you have Mobley, you have Jarrett Allen. I thought it actually wasn't too bad on paper. I'm not necessarily going to think that they were one of the contenders in the East, but I thought, maybe in that 5th to 6th range is where they probably could end up being if they would have stayed the pack. But they decided to go for some more offensive firepower. I think I've criticized Mitchell in the past before in this sense, because I think for me, when it comes to Donovan Mitchell, I think because he was the number 1 guy on the Utah Jazz, it made it difficult to for him not to shoot as many shots as he did. I mean, we talked about this before, Tyrese. Like every time he took shots, there was like 20 of them that'd be up there, and then everyone else on the Jazz would have like 5, 6. But what I think this does now is that it limits those inefficient numbers that Mitchell had to do because he was the guy at that point. And so I think that now that he isn't necessarily the main focal point of the offense anymore, in terms of every time the ball has to go through him, I think by having Garland there, it kind of relieves the pressure a little bit. Excuse me. And that's the reason why I think that this will work for the Cavaliers. Now, am I saying they are like, again, in the playoffs, fighting for an NBA Finals? Not necessarily. I don't think that they are going to be that, because I think that, again, the Bucks and the Celtics are the creme de la creme, and are the top two teams in the East. With Philadelphia, I'm still a little shaky on. I still think they need one more player in order to really get over that next hump. And so for me, that's where I'm kind of like, okay, the 76ers, not so much. But I think the Cavaliers did enter that conversation with the 76ers now, and with those teams like the Atlanta Hawks and all those teams that are kind of vying for that 3 through 8, or even 3 through 10, with the play-in and stuff. So again, I'm excited for this Cavaliers team. I'm excited to see what JB Bickerstaff does as a coach in terms of what plays do they run for Donovan Mitchell and Garland. How I know they ran a little bit of some down screens for Donovan Mitchell in Utah. A little horns action. I'm curious to see if they continue that, because again, when you have two bigs like Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, who are pretty versatile bigs, more so in Evan Mobley, it makes it a lot easier for these two guys to score and even just assist. I think for me, and the wild prediction that I'm going to have here on the charge today, is I think Donovan Mitchell is going to have a career year in assists, because I think it's hard not to pass it to those two guys, which, again, I've always felt that there was a beef between Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. No matter no matter how much they said, oh, that's not really anything, or they did not to think anything of it, we all know what it means. Like, we all knew that those two guys were not cooperating with one another. And so to me, I'm excited to see where these two teams go. Or sorry, I'm excited to see where, maybe not these two teams. I know the Jazz are going to head to Tankville, but for the Cavaliers, I think they have a potential to get into that finals conversation if they play their cards the right way. Again, I'm not saying that they're number one in the East, or even like final, but they could potentially be in the Eastern Conference Finals, and at least giving some competition to those guys. Again, I think it's more so on the fact that it's Darius Garland's team. More so, or actually, I think it's Darius Garland's team until Evan Mobley takes that next jump. Again, I've been wrong on Evan Mobley in terms of where I think he could be, but from what I'm seeing out here from him, and if he continues that growth and progression, like I think he can, eventually it will be Evan Mobley's team. But I'm liking what I'm seeing from Darius Garland.
Yeah, I somewhat agree. It's just you have to remember, man. Donovan Mitchell has a platform. He's used to being the guy, man. I don't think he's going to take a backseat to Darius Garland. I can tell, even though Darius Garland's good, but he hasn't really proven his point like Donovan Mitchell. You get what I'm saying? He's not taking a backseat to him. I can tell you that right now. So, like I said, like Darius Garland, he's going to have to come off the bench. If he's not coming off the bench, then it's not good.
Who's your starting five in that team then? If Garland he comes off the bench,
well, it would have to be. It would have to probably be Donovan Mitchell. Is Ricky Rubio still there?
Ricky Rubio just signed there, yeah. So he's there.
Ricky would start at the 1. He would start at the 2. At the 3, I would put Karis LeVert. At the 4, I would put Kevin Love, and at the 5, I would put Jared Allen.
So Garland, Mobley doesn't start.
No, he has. I mean, Mobley's good, man, but he hasn't got enough reps yet. Jared Allen's, he's an all-star. He can rebound very good. Evan Mobley, he could come off the bench, because they still need guys off the bench. You get what I'm saying? To make a deep run, you don't start you got to have some players off the bench, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, if they have that lineup I said, then I think they can be a top 2 seed and can get to the Eastern Conference Finals. But if they got Darius and Donovan starting, bro, it's gonna be a disaster, in my opinion. I just, I've been right a lot of these times, these teams, on when they acquire these players, just like the Lakers, and it didn't work out, So I feel the same with this, because Donovan Mitchell's a real high ego guy himself. He just kind of has that that mojo about him. Like even when he was with the Jazz, like he didn't take shit from no one. He thinks he's all
Hmm.
world, and they're a young team. The Cavs are young, so if he's going there with that BS, then I think it can go downhill in the locker room. But if he's there to, I don't care what my position is, I'll do this, I'll do that, then they'll go
Hmm.
far. But if he's not willing to play a role, then it's gonna get cut short. So, um, yeah, I'm not saying they're, they're gonna there still has to be some adjustment, but it looks good on paper. This looks very good on paper. But like again, we've seen a lot of these things happen, man, where it looks good on paper and when it comes together, it doesn't go anywhere. So we just gotta wait and see and how this is constructed. But you know, as far as the Cavs go, Kobe Altman, he had to try to make a move like this because no free agents are gonna go to Cleveland because the market is too small.
Hmm.
So I wasn't expecting him to pull the move, but this, it makes sense from a superstar perspective to try to acquire one. But yeah, man, we'll see how this goes. But I'm like I say, if they're doing the lineup, I'm saying if Garland comes off the bench and Ricky starts at the one, then they'll be a top 2 seed, top 3. But if
You,
not, then they're going to be a 5th.
so my thing is that you're telling me that you want to have a all-star point guard in Darius Garland come off the bench for Ricky Rubio. Again, no disrespect to Ricky Rubio, great
No
player.
disrespect. Yeah, no disrespect to Darius Garland, but he was a reserve, wasn't he?
No, I can't remember if he was the reserve, but he still made
I
the
think.
All-Star team. All-Star
Oh
team
yeah,
is All-Star team, man.
I mean,
He
it still is, man. But like, don't get me wrong. Like, an all-star selection is still all-star selection. But someone got hurt for him to get there. He didn't. I'm not trying to take nothing away from him at all. You get what I'm saying? But he was a reserve. Like it's a difference. It's a difference. So, and two, Ricky Rubio is a real point guard, a true point guard. You get what I'm saying? Passing first. He's not worried about points. Darius Garland's going to try to get his 24 to 25. There's not enough room for that with Mitchell. Then they still have Karis LeVert, who still needs to get his 20. Then they still have Kevin Love. It's not going to work. He's going to have to come off the bench. And if their coach isn't willing to do that, it's not going to go far. In my opinion, I could be wrong, but
I,
I've seen this too many times, man, and I've been right on the money.
yeah, I just think you're wrong on this one, man. Like I understand like when it comes.
We'll rewind the tape.
We'll rewind the tape. I'll eat my crow as well, but I just think that again, I love Ricky Rubio. I think he's a great player. But at this point in his career, he's not a starter. He's a guy that you bring off the bench as kind of that kind of, like you said, a playmaker looking to make plays for others. And if you can like do a combination of Garland and Rubio, Donovan Mitchell and Rubio in those substitution patterns that JB Bickerstaff probably will do, I think that's probably your best bet for both Darius Garland and Mitchell to get those shots that they're looking for. Again, I think with both of them on the court, it makes them dangerous. It allows the coaches to kind of play around with it a little bit more. Again, whatever type of action they want to run. I personally like the Iverson action that they could run with this team with Donovan Mitchell, with Mobley and Allen, kind of running some Iverson action in a horn set. I think that would probably be my best bet and probably something I'd be excited to watch them this coming year. But again, the guys like Rubio, guys like Kevin Love, again, no disrespect to Kevin Love, no disrespect to Ricky Rubio, but at this point of their career, they are not starters. Like Kevin Love,
It's not, of course not. But what I'm saying is Ricky Rubio is a non-selfish player. You get what I'm saying? He's going to play his position. I'm just saying to start, even if it's the first 5 minutes or first 8 minutes. You get what I'm saying? I'm not saying the whole game. Of course, they're going to run, offenses with both of those guys. And I'm just saying to start the tempo, I wouldn't put those two guys because, they just need the ball too much. And then you still have Karis LeVert, who still needs the ball in his hands. So you got 3 guys. Then you still have Kevin Love, who's still going to try to get his 17.
I just don't think Kevin Love at this point in his career is looking for those stats anymore. I think he's a guy I think he's like, until he gets traded to another team, which I think is probably possible in case they decide to get a little bit younger in some aspect for them, which I don't really think they
Could be a
need.
salary down. Yeah, it could be.
I mean,
But
he's still making that big money from those Cleveland contracts when LeBron was there. So
they're gonna keep him for his experience though, just in case if if things are clicking and they go deep, they need a vet like that. So I think they hold on to him for 1 year. It just all depends how they're looking. If this isn't going as planned and they're the 6th seed, they're gonna trade him. But if they're 3, 4, then they're gonna keep him. But who knows? But to go back to the original question, like I don't know, man. Like I just think they need to spread it out a little bit. They got great guys who can score, like Karis LeVert. Some of
mhm.
these guys might only need, some games they might only need Karis on the floor because he can get you 30. He can get buckets himself, bro. So if you got 3 guys in Darius, you got Mitchell, you have what's his name? I just said his name, Karis LeVert. They're gonna be ball dominant. They're gonna be fighting over the ball. And Donovan Mitchell's the type to where he needs the rock. He doesn't
Yeah.
get this Cavs team. It reminds me of the Jazz already. It's just younger. They have solid role players who can shoot the three. They got guys who can pass. It kind of reminds me of that. They got tall guys who can rebound. They had that in Favors and Rudy Gobert. They had a guy like what's his name, Harris LeVert, just like Jordan Clarkson. It's similar. They had Ricky Rubio, I think, on the Jazz, didn't they?
They did a while back.
Yeah. So this team's not too far off from where it was, and you know, it all depends on how they utilize Garland with Donovan because I know how Donovan plays, dude, and he's not like a non-selfish player. He's gonna try to get his 25 to 30 to be an all-star, to get the cameras on him, to get interviews. He's not gonna be averaging 17 points a game with 10 assists. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
again,
I
like
could be wrong.
I
But
think that this team is a lot better than those Jazz teams. I think when you think about guys like Jared Allen, I think even though defensively maybe not the same as Rudy Gobert, but
yeah,
offensively could do a lot different better things than Rudy Gobert. I just feel like he's more offensively sound. Evan Mobley, I think, is one of those rare unicorn players that's a triple threat at his size. And I just think that, again, as he continues to get older, obviously was a runner up for Rookie of the Year to Cade Cunningham. I think that he will continue. Again, it was a close race between those two. And then the 3 positions really open. I mean, Karis LeVert, Seti Osman, Isaac Okoro. But I mean, really, if you think about like Karis LeVert, he's like perfect candidate for a guy to come off the bench and do the things that you just said with the scoring. Again, you get a combination of, Rubio, Mitchell, and LeVert, or the vice versa with replacing Mitchell with Garland. Again, I think that this team is poised for a great season this year. I definitely can see it. I definitely see it differently in terms of where I think they have potential, like I said, to be in the Eastern Conference Finals if everything goes the right way.
yeah, for sure.
Uh, but what I am excited about more so than anything else is on the other side of it, the Utah Jazz. I think the Utah Jazz, obviously, like I talked about with this Field Yates tweet, talking about the draft order for the next 5 years. I think there's a lot of, I would say, pieces that still need to be moved for the Jazz. I mean, you look at their roster still. You have guys like Mike Conley. You have guys like Jordan Clarkson, who is right now playing for the Philippines in the FIBA World Cup qualifiers. You have who else on that team? Yeah, Bogdanovich, who could definitely be a nice piece to trade.
Yeah.
My thing for the Utah, if you're the Utah Jazz, Tyrese, what's your, are you trading those pieces or are you getting the pieces that you got from this Cavaliers trade, which was Larry
Well,
Marketing, OG Abaji, and Colin Sexton? Are you looking to just kind of go forward with that and try to be the best you can be? Or do you try to move those pieces so you can get worse, so you can tank for some of these guys that are coming up in this coming draft or next year as well?
well, I think Laurie Marketing's a good guy you can build around, but I just don't think he's going to be no generational type talent. But he's going to be a great role player. You get what I'm saying? He can get you a
Mm-hmm.
nice 18 to 20 points, but he's not going to be a superstar any type of way. But yeah, with as far as those picks go, I don't know how they're going to utilize those because I think Danny's in charge now, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so if Danny is in charge of all those picks, do you remember how he was with us? Like he did some good selections, right? But it's just it's I don't know how they're going to utilize it because picks are cool, but they're not always the best thing. Because look at the OKC Thunder, man. For like the past 3-4 years, they had so many draft picks, 3 years, and they haven't done nothing with them. So unless they're going to try to trade for a superstar talent, it makes no sense to hold on to 15 draft picks. I understand what they're trying to do and get a war chest, but they have no talent anymore. It's all gone. So they can't really package anything to try to trade, a superstar for a superstar with those draft picks because Rudy's gone and now he's gone. Unless they trade Jordan Clarkson and like Laurie Marketing, but no one. A lot of players are going to turn down Utah because of the destination itself. So I'm curious to see how this is going to work because they don't really have any guys. I mean, Mike Conley, but he's old.
They got Taylor Horton-Tucker, Tucker Jr.
I can't believe the Lakers gave him up. But too, for Pat, it makes sense, But yeah, man, it's a road to recovery for them. They might as well unload Mike now and some of those other guys like Rudy because the ship is sailing. It's almost off. So
yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, we look at the Utah Jazz. We clearly know what they're trying to do. I don't think it's any secret from anybody that the Jazz are clearly trying to tank. They're trying to either get Victor Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, some of these guys that are highly rated in the draft this coming year. I think this year is an interesting year in terms of, the Thunder are in that conversation, obviously, with what I read from Yates, like the draft order for the next 5 years. And so, I think the Jazz right now are in a very an interesting predicament in the sense that, again, their roster has a couple of young guys that I think you could potentially look at and say, okay, these are guys that we could definitely, try to grow and mature again. I loved OG Abaji. I think that he was a great player for them, for Kansas, and then obviously, getting drafted to the Cavaliers. I thought that was a great pickup. I think that might be a sneaky loss for the Cavaliers, but again, for the way that the league is, you can't win with rookies and youth projects.
No, you can't. Yeah, you cannot. You cannot. I mean, it's a possibility, but me, I go off a probability. It's a possibility these guys will develop, but it's a probability they won't be. They'll be rotational players. If I was the Jazz, they were better off keeping Donovan, man, and just trying to make it work because now they have to start from ground zero and try to hope because Donovan Mitchell he's not the, superstar, but he's a star. And you don't get guys out of the league who can just get 25 a night,
Yeah.
I think they should have held on to him. I think they made a fat mistake by doing that. They should have got rid of Conley and Jordan Clarkson, maybe for another all-star or something, but they were fine, man. I don't know. The relationship with Mitchell must have just sunk. D-Wade must have not have been enough in ownership there to keep him, but they should have held on to him. They should have held on, man, because they were a solid team. I think too with the new head coach there, he's unproven, So I understand what Donovan's going. Like, I'm trying to compete. I'm not trying to tank or be mediocre. So it makes sense, but man, they had it good, man. Like, I don't understand what was going on, but
I think they're the Jazz. They've hit their ceiling as soon as it was year. I can't remember. Maybe like the third year that Quinn Snyder was there. Like, again, I look at that roster. You guys have talked. I mean, Pete's talked about it. I think you've talked about it too in terms of where's the rest of the talent. Like, no one really believed in this Jazz roster. I mean, again, maybe people did in the media, but in terms of people just watching the game and knows the game of basketball, they knew that the Jazz were kind of fraudulent in the way that. In terms of they continue to especially in that Clippers series, if you remember a while back where Kawhi Leonard was hurt and they ended up losing that series. I mean, it's just unacceptable. And I just think that the Jazz kind of realized, well, we're not getting anywhere with this group of guys, so let's move on, try to get a new guy, and try to see what we can do. And so I think for the Jazz, I think this is a perfect opportunity for them to restart. You get rid of
Right.
some of these older guys that have some trade value, maybe get a sneaky first round pick in there, late draft pick. And so I just think that for me, I'm excited for the Jazz's rebuild project, but again, they are a project team, and that's kind of the way that it is at this point for the Jazz. But I kind of want to speak on just one thing, Tyrese, and then we can
What's that?
get really quick. So, do you think the Jazz, or sorry, not the Jazz? Do you think the Knicks made a mistake in not trying to get Donovan Mitchell? Do you think that they should have done everything in their power to try to get Mitchell, or do you think that they were smart for not getting Donovan Mitchell?
I wouldn't say they should have done everything in their power, just because they're the Knicks, man. Like they're always going to be in discussions. They're in the Mecca, so I don't think it was a mistake, like to where they're going to regret this 5 years looking back. But it would have been cool if they would have acquired him, because they would have been really attractive. Because you got a lot of guys coming up in free agency in the next 2 years, big guys with big names. So they're always circled in. It's just they have no superstar there, and that would have been a great place to start with Donovan. But
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't know, man. Like I would have. I don't know. Honestly, I probably would have traded for him, just because I think he wanted to go there himself, and like I say, he loves to be in the spotlight. He loves to have the cameras on him. New York would have been perfect for him. In Cleveland, it's not gonna fly because he's not LeBron. LeBron James isn't there, so
Mm.
games aren't gonna be televised. They're not gonna be. I'm curious to see how he's gonna adapt to Cleveland. Like I see him on Twitter, he's all excited, but we've seen this plenty of times where guys go to new teams and they're just unhappy, man. You know what I'm saying? And it never works out. So
Let's see here.
we'll see.
We had someone in the comments say Carmelo wasn't a superstar? Question mark.
Who said that, Nicholas?
Yeah, Nick.
Carmelo. I mean, Carmelo was a superstar, man, but those days are over now. So, we'll see. We'll see how that is, but um, yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm curious to see how this is gonna go, man, because if they don't utilize this right, this is gonna go left quick. Um, but yeah, we'll see, man. But like I say, if they do my plan, then I think they can be a second to third seed, man. But Garland has to come off the bench. He just has to in my books. Like, there's no way they can have both of those guys starting. It's not gonna work.
Grimes sold up the Knicks getting Mitchell. Drunk. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think that the Knicks have their guys that they want, and I feel like the fear of what happened in that Carmelo trade, where they basically got rid of so many pieces and so many assets to bring in Carmelo, and kind of the way that it ended there, and then they went in a huge playoff drought after Carmelo left, and Stoudemire retired and wasn't as good as he was back in his Phoenix days. I think that's what really led them to kind of be like, okay, we're going to try this different approach. We're not going to just try to trade for the next guy. But I think that they should have tried to get Mitchell, man. Like, if Quentin Grimes is a casualty of that, in terms of that's the guy you get rid of so he can come to the team, that's what you have to do. Again, you have Brunson, you would have RJ, you would have Fournier as a backup, you'd have Randall, you had Mitchell Robinson. Again, I think this team is not a bad team if you add Mitchell to this roster. Now, are they an NBA Finals contender? No. But they're definitely a playoff team, and a playoff team worthy enough to at least be competitive in the playoffs, where previous years, especially against the Atlanta Hawks back then, they weren't competitive. And I just think that Mitchell would have been a little bit more of the way that they should have went. But thinking about the way that, again, from an NBA owners and GM perspective, I think they weren't willing to give up what they needed to get the guy. And so that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah, of course. I just think Well, who's the GM again for the Knicks? I haven't
I
been
think it's like
following.
Leon Rose or something like that.
Leon Rose, yeah, he doesn't have experience doing blockbusters, so he probably didn't want to mess with anything. But honestly, these guys like D Rose, like it makes no sense. Once they signed RJ Barrett to the 120 million, what was it, 3 days ago or so, I knew he was over for Donovan going there because it made no sense. Unless they were trying to match salary, but I'm like, nah, that's not gonna work. But they could have got rid
Hmm.
of those other guys, but you know, Derrick Rose is what, 33? They're not getting rid of Cam. They just got him quickly. I mean, Laurie Markkinen is certainly more attractive of a player than the guys the Knicks have, other than RJ.
Yeah, I mean, I think
And
RJ probably would have been in there, and then you're left with Cam Reddish, who again I think Cam Reddish could have an opportunity, man. I think Cam Reddish needs an opportunity somewhere. And if the Knicks aren't
yeah,
going to give it to him, he's got to get traded.
yeah, I think Cam Reddish actually did pretty well, man, with the Hawks. I think it was like what, 2 years ago when they made that deep run.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
actually he did pretty good.
yeah, I just think with Cam Reddish, it's kind of I don't think I don't think the coaches really give him an opportunity to shine because of how many players are in front of him. But he again, it's the same thing that happened in his college career. It's the same thing that's happening now. It's just I feel like he needs to go to a different team to get his shine on, and I
He
think
needs to
that
fit with a team that has young players who are under, like us, for example. We have a lot of young guys. It fits the timeline. Like the Knicks, you have a lot of guys who are in their 30s already.
hmm
So late 20s, 29, 30. Like he doesn't fit there, and he's not going to get an opportunity. But
yeah.
somewhere like Cleveland or somewhere like Boston, he would fit in because they're all young.
And
Um,
let's see here really quick. Drunk, you said I wouldn't have given up RJ Barrett for Mitchell though. He's developing really nice for me. I mean, I guess that's the question too. I mean, I think RJ Barrett was included in that conversation. Um, so like for example, like do you trade RJ Barrett for Mitchell? Is that the move that you make?
that's not enough though. Like who would take that? That's not even matching
Well,
his
let's just
salary.
well let's just say like who would you rather have, or would you rather have RJ Barrett or would you have Donovan Mitchell?
I'd rather have Donovan because he's only like what, 3 years older, so he has way more higher of a probability of being a superstar than Cam Reddish, who possibly could, but like again, probability is key, especially when you're dumping money into these guys.
Hmm.
Um, but Cam's future, it looks pretty good, man. But if I'm a team who's trying to compete and pay that 30 to 35 million, I would go with Donovan just because he's an all-star. He's been in playoff games, etc. So, I don't think the Knicks would have done it, but the Jazz probably wouldn't have done it because it doesn't make sense for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, the Knicks are gonna Knicks. They're gonna continue to make maybe some ridiculous trades and trades that really don't make sense, and
Yeah.
at the end, and that's just something that they're gonna have to live by.
They
For
should have
RJ,
just dumped everything, man. Like honestly, no one's going there unless you have at least one guy who's an all-star or who's proven.
yeah,
None of these guys are proven. If I'm Cat, if I'm an all-star, I'm not going to New York. What the hell am I going to do in New York besides go to fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like go places with Jordan Woods. Like you're
hmm
not going to compete. And that's what it's all about. So that would have been a great stepping stone. So now it's just, I don't know, man. It's the Knicks being the Knicks, but that's another topic for another day.
see RJ for Donovan straight up, yeah, but with picks included, nah, I'm good. Yeah, I think that's really it. I mean, again, I think RJ, I don't really know what to make of RJ. I need to watch a little bit more of his game. I think I know who he is to some extent, but I would like to watch a little bit more and see if there is that area of improvement where he can take that next step. But I need to do a little bit more research on his game and watch a little bit more film on him before I make like a final assessment on, yes, this is going to be RJ from here on out, or hey, RJ has some room to grow. But again, I think for me, the Knicks, they made the decision that was probably the best for them in terms of not giving up the farm and kind of saying, hey, RJ's our guy. We're gonna ride or die with RJ.
Mhm.
And I think that that's kind of the way that it's going to be until they find that superstar that they really want, like they did with Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah, that's how it's certainly looking. You know, it's like they're going through so much management. Just it's ridiculous, man. It's like you guys have a landing location in the heart of New York, Madison Square. It's like they had so many opportunities. I think they're just I don't know. I feel like they get kind of committed to or not. I wouldn't say committed, but like they gain relationships with the guys they have already, like D Rose and RJ Barrett and so on. So I think it's kind of hard for them to trade, but it's like you're not winning any games really.
Mm-hmm.
You have to move on. Um, so yeah, man. But I think they should have went after Mitchell. Honestly, I would have dumped everyone.
So let's see here. Hilo, you said the Knicks won this trade by not trading for Mitchell. We literally can go get any upstart
Says
superstar with the asset hole that we have. Superstars that are better than Spida. And let me see if there's a free agent tracker for the next couple years.
yeah, let's see that. Pull that up because that was a bad mistake, man. They must be looking at someone they're keen on who's better out there than Mitchell, who's going to be a free agent. But I feel like it's been like 5 years now that people are saying, "Oh, they're going to get this person. They're going to get this person." They never get them. It's always just rumors. And they had an opportunity to cash in, and they didn't pull the trigger, man. It's like, you know, you're not going to win without taking a risk.
Yeah, so let's see here. So like guys like Westbrook, Middleton, Harden, Porzingis, uh, Kevin Love, obviously not someone. Andrew Wiggins, D'Lo, Horford, Vucevic, Barnes, Grant, Turner, Bogdanovich, Karis LeVert, Steve Adams, Barton. I mean, again, there's a lot of like good guys that are like on that are there. I mean, I think you probably have to look a little bit further into the future, but
Yeah.
again, I think from my perspective, I think the Knicks made the best thing for them, and that was to not trade for Mitchell. Because not to say that like you can get any haul you want, but you don't want to
Yeah.
give up the haul for a guy that, again, maybe you don't feel like that's the guy that you want. And, especially if you have, and thinking about it too from this perspective, you just signed Brunson to that long-term contract extension or that long contract. You're
Oh,
then
yeah,
going to
they just
bring
got
in,
him.
you just bring in now Donovan Mitchell. Again, two guys, especially with the undersized point guard in Brunson and an undersized two guard in Mitchell, the defense is probably not going to be there for what you need to guard against, the best of the best, right? Like
Oh,
when you think about, playing the Bucks, you're going to have to go against Drew Holiday and Middleton, long athletic defenders. Even though,
right.
you could say whatever you want about Middleton's defense. The Boston Celtics, you have Tatum, Brown, now you have Brogdon, who's a long athletic defender. Like you're adding more variables to it where the Jazz, or sorry, not the Jazz, I keep wanting to call them the Jazz. The Knicks,
Yeah.
it's just kind of it kind of be an interesting situation. So again, I'm not too
What,
necessarily
what's
upset with them, but it is what it is at
what's
this
the Knicks
point.
Bucks looking like? They got a lot of guys who are making like north of 30 million now, huh? They have RJ now, and they have Brunson who's making almost 30.
Let's see.
Um, they're up there. Then they still have what's his name, Julius Randle. He's making like 28, isn't he? They
Gonna
got
be.
three guys that are like max players. Damn there.
Let's see here. If we're going into the 2023-24
I
season,
don't know what they're doing in management. I mean, it looks good, but they haven't. I mean, that one year they got to the playoffs was nice, but
yeah, I mean
it's a
they got
lot of
RJ
money,
making
man.
26, Brunson 26, Randall 25, Fournier 18. I think once you get Fournier off the books, I think you'll be fine. Mitchell at
Who
15.
wants this contract though? Nobody's going to take Fournier's money for $18 million. How many years is that? 4 years, or is it
Let
2? It must be 2 years.
me see.
20
Must
set 26-7, 26-3. Yeah,
yeah, I mean
they
they're
yeah they couldn't do Donovan Mitchell.
well, they're gonna do it because of the with RJ signing that contract or the extension with the
Yeah, I knew
rookie
right away.
extension.
I knew right away that I wasn't gonna go anywhere. You'll
Uh,
probably trade for Katie next year. I don't know, Sean. I don't think so, man. They like again, like they always say this stuff about them, but they never make the move. It's like you got to make the move, bro. It's been like 4 or 5 years now, and they keep saying all these rumors. They're not gonna. If they would have done it, they would have done it already.
mhm.
I think they're scared to give up assets. But hey, we'll see.
I don't think it was the right. Again, we talked about like the fit. I think with Durant, that's probably a better fit. But then again, you get into the Knicks contract is not bad. The cap is going to rocket up in a couple of years.
Yeah, but the TV deals might not go through how people are thinking. They're projecting guys are going to make, you know, 300, but that might not happen and it goes south. You don't want to. Projections are good, but it's not always a probability. It's a projection.
Yeah, I'm trying to see here. I mean, again, I think from what I'm seeing from the books here, um, I think the Knicks are sixth in cap space in terms of
Oh
that's
my lord,
how much they have projected left. So
they're gonna dump some guys
which
though.
is
That
not
makes
bad.
no
I
sense.
mean, if you think about the
Top
Pacers,
six.
Pacers have the most money in terms like this is like most money they have space wise,
Yeah,
and
to pay. Yeah, base wise.
yeah, so like the Knicks are six, so it's not like they're definitely not struggling for money. Whereas teams like the Warriors, the Nets, and the Clippers. So I
Oh
think
yeah.
that the Knicks are in a good position right now to where again they're not necessarily like I said they're not going to make really big moves until they feel like they have a guy that they want to lock in. I feel like Zion, even though he signed his contract extension, I could definitely see him be a guy that says, "Hey, I want to go to New York."
That's
Uh,
one guy who I think they're looking for is Zion. He fits the whole narrative. Superstar, loves a spot. He needs a spot. He wants a spotlight. You know what I'm saying? He's young. I think
mm-hmm,
that's what they're banking off of is getting Zion in New York soon because I think he's going to demand a trade out of New Orleans. I think he just did that to secure the bag. And but I don't know though, man, because the Pelicans are looking pretty promising. So, but we'll see. But they could be looking to acquire him and give up everyone. That's probably why they even signed RJ to the 120 because they might. But then again, they might want to pair RJ and him because they went to Duke together and they were teammates. So that could be their ultimate goal is to get RJ and Zion on the same team and maybe dump Brunson. I don't know, but I think that's their goal is to get RJ and Zion on the same team, just how college was, because they're a dynamic duo in college. Even though it's college, but you know it could lead to the NBA too. So
yeah. So Pete, your Hilo, you said keep an eye on Shy for the Knicks.
Alexander,
Yeah,
it makes no sense because they already have pretty much two guards. I mean, unless he's trying to come off the bench, but they would have to trade like Evan Fournier or somebody like that to dump salary. That's only how it really makes sense. Um, but other than that, it doesn't really make any sense to go after Shy.
yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens with the Knicks. Again, I think we'll get Pete on here to kind of get his perspective on the Knicks and talk
Yeah.
talk a little bit more about that, and especially when we get into our preseason rankings, which will happen probably in the next month or so, as we kind of continue to look at the future of what the league has in store in terms of power rankings. I'm excited for it. Again, let us know in the comment section down below what do you guys make of this Donovan Mitchell trade. That's the whole reasoning why we did this discussion to kind of led over to the Knicks, but
Do
it's
you
it's
do you?
it's a fun
Oh, go ahead.
conversation to have. No, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say, do you think the Cavs need a third star, or you think they should just stop there where they're at?
I think the Cavs should stop there. I think their team. I want to see what they do with this team again. I think they have the 3 stars that they want already. And again,
Who's that?
we disagreed at the beginning, but again, you have Mitchell, you have Garland, and now you have Evan Mobley as your guy. Like those are your three that you're now building around.
You think Evan Mobley can get you over the top?
I think again, I was not saying a huge doubter, but I was definitely not on the bandwagon or the hype of Evan Mobley coming into the draft. But after seeing what he did with that roster, Even, again, both Garland and Sexton, not going to take anything away from them, but adding Evan Mobley, who again changes that dynamic, not only defensively, but offensively, I think that you have another guy there, man. I think that you have something
Yeah,
there.
we'll see, man, because they said the same thing about Aiton, and he wasn't as great the last 2 years. We'll see, but I just think he's gonna be great long term, probably, but like the next 2 years, I don't know if he can go against Embiid and be a force, or go against who else, Giannis, and be a force.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, but hey, I honestly I can't. I've seen his game, but he's more of an offensive player to me. But he can block some shots and stuff too. But I just think he's a little young, man, to really say he's a third piece. If anything, it's probably Jared Allen, because he's more of a key rebounder and shot blocker. So I would say he's the he's the third person to the three-headed monster.
Yeah.
Is Garland, Mitchell, and Allen.
I think for me, I think I know what Allen's ceiling is, and that's why I'm not like super high on him as like, hey, he could be a third guy. But I think with Mobley,
yeah.
there's some room to grow. Again, obviously the age plays a factor into this, but his offense and defensive ability, if he can get it to where, again, I don't think he's KD, Pete, but I do think that Mobley will be the second or third guy on that team, because again, I respect Garland's game so much, and I think he is a great player. And so I think that
he needs to just work on his shot selection, though, because I've seen a lot of games of his, and he'll make some ridiculous shots. Like, he'll just pull up without even really getting set and just trying to shoot a dagger. He needs to clean that up, especially if he's going to start next to Mitchell, because that can lead to a lot of blowouts. Because Donovan Mitchell's not a great rebounder at all. I mean, not rebounder, defender. So that's why I'm saying Ricky Rubio makes sense, because he's a pass first point guard, and he would be great to start the games. You can bring him off the bench because, he takes a lot of unnecessary shots. Same with Mitchell. So both of those guys are bricking and nobody's getting hot. It's going to be ugly.
Yeah.
That's why I say that, because, they're almost kind of like the same kind of player in a way. In my eyes, they're not too far off.
I think they have different styles, but again, Mitchell more of that scoring guard, again, shot creator, whereas you have Darius Garland, who's more of that pure playmaker. And again, not saying that that's all he does, but he's versatile in that sense, where he knows when to make that pass, when to dish it off to his guy, and when to shoot the rock, and when to use his body to get into the paint and go finish over guys. I like Garland maybe a lot more than maybe other people do, but I'm excited.
He's a great player, man. He's a great, solid player. It's just, when you don't have, a guy really to take over the team, because Kevin Love's not the leader. He's, you know what I'm saying? He was hurt most of the year, so he's gonna get all the shots.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just looking at his game, man. Like, his shot selection sometimes isn't there, but he's an explosive player who can get to the cup, and stuff like that. But I don't know, man. I just think they need to bring him off the bench, because I just don't think they're going to win 52 games, 53 games with those two starting every game. I just can't see that happening. But who knows?
Yeah, we'll find out in the future. Again, these are Garland stats pulled up here.
You have to remember, they're kind of, because Ricky Rubio's a little. I think he's only a little. Oh no, Darius Garland and Ricky Rubio, 6'4". So, yeah, I would start Rubio just because he's a pass first, and they need to spread that ball around and not rely. Because Mitchell, dude, I'm telling you, like, he's gonna be getting his shots. He's not gonna take a back seat just because he's in a new. He's gonna be pulling up.
Yeah, we'll find out, moving forward. But let us know in the comment section down below, everybody. What do you guys make of this story? More so the Donovan Mitchell breaking news, obviously traded to the Cavaliers now. Let us know in the comment section down below. Will it work? Do you think they're in the NBA Finals? or do you think you agree with Tyrese where you don't see them working out and it's going to be a dumpster fire in Cleveland?
It's gonna be a dumpster fire.
Yeah, Cleveland, Ohio. But anyway, guys, that is going to do it here for the Charge. I do apologize that it's only one topic, but nothing really much else to talk about. And we're, again, looking forward to continuing talking about preseason stuff. Again, be on the lookout. We're going to take a break from our top 15 list. That video's coming out. Obviously, you guys can check those out. We already have our honorable mentions and both Pete and I's 15 to 11. So as we continue next week, we'll move on to the next round. But again, let us know in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of our list? Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? And I'm excited to let you guys continue telling us if we're right or wrong on that story. Kings in 6 signing off. All right, Sean, we'll talk about the Kings when we get to our preseason rankings. But anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie. Thank you, Tyrese, for joining.
Yeah, no problem.
Catch everybody on the next video. Peace out, everybody.